We all did each other's moms in this episode. And there's a cold open. Hello everyone and welcome to Sorta My Podcast. My name is Vincent Vin The Human. Sitting across the table from me,
James Odle, Alphaspecter.
Unfortunately, Dr. T. Neal and Bobb could not join us for this episode, but where you should join us is our nerd news page, Sorta My Comics on Facebook, and follow Sorta My Podcast on Instagram. You can also check out Subject to Change Entertainment on Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe to that channel on YouTube and SoundCloud. You're checking this out somewhere? While here, why not like, comment, and share. It is the only way to get us out in front of people, get us some exposure, and of course, all of our personal social media is down in the description below. Guys, we're doing a special one this time around because it is Mother's Day when this comes out. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is coming out on Mother's Day. I don't think we're going to do our normal Monday upload with this one. I'm going to put it out on the day, on the Sunday, which is the 14th?
Yes.
Mother's Day. We need to figure that out.
What is...
Well, this has gotten off to a great start. Anyways, before we get to the real bulk of this show, what we really want to do with it, I thought it would be fun if we did a little something, because it's not the typical SMP. We're not going to have phone booth news or fallen heroes or anything like that in it. But I thought it would be cool if we just talked about some of our favorite TV, movie, and comic book moms. Maybe we'll cover ground on each one, and then we'll get into the actual meat of the show. Fuck you. Stop it. You had no business up there. Apparently she disagrees. Anyways, yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
so let's go ahead and do you want to start TV, comics, movie?
Let's start TV.
Okay. We'll start with TV.
I mean, that's a pretty broad...
Oh, there's a lot.
Like, really
and I guess we don't really have to keep it to just the one. Like, I mean, we're probably going to come up with better ones as we're talking.
I mean, do we want to categorize this? Like, TV moms that, like, we wish we were their kids? TV moms that we thought were hot?
Okay, well, let's not make it gross. For once, let's not make it gross, even though we already have, like, twice. And let's just talk about TV moms that we felt a connection to, an emotional connection to.
Oh, man.
Or just like, we even thought like, oh, that's a really cool mom. Really, I guess you don't have to have cried in a moment or something. Just moms that you really enjoyed throughout the years on TV.
Okay, starting like as a
let her out, please. God damn. Do you want to start this one over?
No, we're too far.
God damn it!
You just don't want to edit.
I really don't.
Fucking deal with it. Okay, from like kind of childhood-ish, a show that I always remember watching was Family Matters.
Okay.
Yeah, and that, like, I was sitting here trying to think, it's like, okay, Full House didn't really have a mom until Becky showed up.
She died.
And then I was trying to think, Step by Step, there was Suzanne Summers.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I can always remember watching Family Matters. I don't think I ever missed an episode.
What was the mom's name on there? Loretta?
No.
Was Loretta the daughter?
No.
There's a Loretta, I know, on that show.
Laura was the daughter.
Laura was the daughter. I think it's Loretta.
I can't remember.
I think it's Loretta. I'm just going to go with that, but non-consequential, but the mom from Family Matters.
You know, granted, you know, a little bit of a different locale than my personal life and all that.
Yeah.
You know, Dad wasn't a cop. I think she was a teacher or something.
Well, yeah, there was no, like...
You know, obviously, there's no, like, I can't relate
significant
to that.
Relatability.
But,
anything,
like, that was one of those TV moms, like, I definitely grew attached to because, like I said, I don't think I ever hardly missed an episode of Family Matters.
Okay.
Like, there were a lot of emotional times, like, very heartfelt conversations with the kids.
Right on.
You know, stuff like that. honestly trying to think of just TV show moms. It's like, yeah, I can sit here and think, okay, Roseanne and stuff like that, but it's like not really a heartfelt attachment.
Because mine was my go-to right now is Roseanne. I know
is that from childhood, or is
that's from childhood? Well, I mean, all the way up, really, because aside from maybe the quick-wittedness of all her candor and her ability to roast the people around her, that was really kind of like the life I knew, that lower class lifestyle. So the jokes resonated with me, a lot of them coming from Roseanne herself. How she could be so mean, but it was rationalized.
Yeah.
You know, it felt like my family. Like I could see myself in the show, and Roseanne was a huge part of that show and conveying that certain aspect of Western culture, because at the time when that came out, that wasn't the kind of show you saw. You saw people with good jobs and a nice house and stuff, and even though they would go through hard times and stuff, it was still one of those things where, like, fuck, I would really love to live in that world. And Roseanne was one of those, wow, I already know what that world is. Like they're speaking my language.
I would have loved to have been a Matthews.
Right? Right? And I can't really say I had too much of a connection to Corey's mom, because Corey's mom there are a lot of episodes with her in it.
But she wasn't really an astounding.
Yeah. I think the most established she ever got was maybe there's an episode where her and the dad are like, they end up in an argument because they're supposed to meet where they had their first date, and she remembers it one way, he remembers it another, and it turns out she went to the restaurant that another dude took her for the first date.
Yeah.
And oh, that's right, the place where I proposed to you, and apparently another guy had proposed to her, and she thought it was that restaurant and stuff. So I felt like that was the farthest we ever really got connected with those characters.
Yeah.
But his parents, they were all right. She was fun. She was nice and stuff. We also had a lot of cartoon moms as
That's
a kid.
what I was about to say. Okay, what about cartoon moms?
Yeah, Dexter's Lab, I think, is the first one that comes up in my head. She was always so funny, and the thing that was so funny about her was how oblivious she was. How willingly oblivious she was, because there's no way she goes through half of the situations she does in that show without raising a question, but she's obviously chosen to let it go. She's got shit to do. We don't know what that shit is. We'll never see it, but
she always had on an apron and gloves, and she was doing something.
She's got somewhere to be. That's for sure. That was always a fun one. Any you to point out?
Rugrats.
Rugrats, yes.
And the cool thing about that is there were so many.
Yeah, Dee Dee.
Like,
Pickles.
You had Dee Dee, you had Phil and Lil's mom, you had Angelica's mom.
The jazzercise type, like...
Yeah.
Oh, she was a feminist. Oh my god. Yeah. I'm only just now thinking about this. She was a total feminist. But she wasn't an in-your-face.
No.
Yeah, no. Then you had the business, career-oriented mom, Angelica's, yeah. So there were a lot of very different archetypes, a wide array of women on that show.
Like, when Susie came into the fray, her mom.
Yep. You had Chucky's
when
stepmom.
Chucky finally got a
Chucky's stepmom, I don't know
Asian.
her name. Yeah. Don't say the Asian. Come on. This isn't supposed to be that episode where you say something racist.
Surprise!
Surprise! Anyways, that was a well-rounded cast of women. I'm only just now thinking of that. I would love to go back and watch that show again and see, like, what subtleties I missed as a kid.
And the thing is, like, especially during that show, like, you saw a lot of the aspects of the adult lives as well as the kids. And
lip shits was I'll never forget that. The whole parenting and that is At least, like for some parents, I know when we had our first child, they put me in these classes and everything. I had to study all this different stuff, and I was quoting like, well, this actually isn't supposed to be, and it was crazy. So lip shits has always been a thing that stood out to me since then. And I was like, yep, got my own.
Yeah. So like, that's probably the best like mom-esque cartoon that I can think of. Yeah. Touching back a minute ago to the live action, Lucille Ball.
Oh yes,
I would have loved that.
Oh wow. Well, and here's the thing: you kind of forget that she's a TV mom because the way that show was structured, it was about her mishaps and adventures and stuff, and that rarely ever involved the kid. The kid just so happened to exist.
I was gonna say, like, for the longest time, the kid wasn't there. Like, there was no kid for more of the show.
For a lot of the show,
I think there was him in it. But then, like, you could tell that things kind of switched gears, and she did enter that mom mode. And, like, I can remember there were some episodes where it was just, like, trying to do everything. Like, take care of the kid, take care of the house, trying to do this, manage this, everything. And it was one of those, like, if only she had about 6 more hands, she could have taken care of everything.
And I think I'm going to go ahead and destroy our little structure of when we were kids to when we were adults thing right now. We're just going to talk on this. Because another one that occurs to me is Kitty Foreman from that 70s show. Fuck, Kitty is one of my favorite TV moms of all time for sure, because there are times when she has that willful ignorance, but that she's keen to everything. Yeah. There are times when she's adorable. There are times when she's ferocious. There
are times when she just needs a drink.
When she's she gets plenty of them. Trust me. The episode where they're throwing a surprise birthday party for Eric, and he knows, everyone else knows and stuff, but Kitty is the only one trying to keep up the illusion. Even Red's like going like, he doesn't want a party, don't give it to him and stuff. Like, there's a moment where he goes to the cabinet to get some cereal, and she's like, she runs over and she slams it. She's like, no, I'll get it. She like cracks it, just quickly gets the cereal. He goes to get in the fridge. Oh shit! And she slams the fridge shut. No, I'll get it. She slowly gets the milk and stuff. And he's like, Mom, did I see like 15 bags of M&Ms in there? And she's like, they're for your sister. It's just, and I've seen every episode of that show like 70 times each. But yeah, Kitty Foreman is another great one.
I cannot argue with that at all.
I think that, honestly, I think that's going to take my all-time favorite. Roseanne is all-time relatable, a damn close second, but all-time favorite, probably Kitty Foreman.
I'm probably right there with you, actually.
And I know there's probably a lot of ground we're not covering here, but we don't want to make this like a full-on, like, crazy long episode.
We can't cover every TV mom there ever was.
And of all the TV we've seen, like, there's a lot.
I mean, we're not going to talk about Mrs. Brady.
Should we talk about Mrs. Brady, the almost, like considerably ultimate TV mom? I mean, she's like known as Mrs. Brady.
No, I don't. This isn't about like penultimate mom.
Hey guys, we recognize she's the greatest. We're not going to talk about that one. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to. Do you want to do comics next, or go right into TV? Because TV's or movies. Because movies is the big bad. I feel like that's the big one. Maybe not. I feel like we started out the box hot with TV.
I think we did.
Yeah, we fucked up.
Because like the more I sit here, I'm like, man, Will's mom had a rough in Stranger Things.
Oh my God, Will's mom. Winona Ryder all of a sudden is entering the game. Yeah, maybe we should have just talked about TV. If we have to, we'll make TV an underline for the whole thing. If we want to bring up TV again later, we can. But let's move on to comics.
I was going to say, let's go comics.
Let's go on to comics real quick. And I think, how can you deny Martha Kent? Martha Kent, I think, is probably... You don't have as much experience, so don't sit there and try and bullshit people. No, but... You son of a bitch.
I can agree with Martha Kent
being... You lying piece of shit.
Yeah, I can agree with Martha Kent being the world's biggest whore.
I could spit right in your face right now. I will come right over this table.
I'm sure you do. I was wondering what that white stain was.
You already made that joke. Come on. It's the last time I said I'd come over this table. God damn, get some new material. We only expect professional level shit from you on this show. And here you come in with the same joke. Hey, the rest of the episode is me berating you for 45 minutes.
Gotta keep it consistent.
Yep. Anyways, I think Martha Kent is probably the standard. Lois Lane is another great one, but we've only really just gotten to meet Mom Lois Lane for the past couple of years because there was that whole retcon. She was pregnant, and then I think it was Crisis on Infinite Earths that undid all of that, and then it didn't come back into the fold until the Convergence event, 3-4 years ago, something like that. So, Lois Lane, a pretty kick-ass mom, albeit a little neglectful these days. Well, you gotta think. Superman's running around doing his thing. Lois Lane has started back at the planet. And you also do have to take into consideration that for years, like the bulk of John Kent's life, they were living in hiding on a farm and stuff, and they lived quietly. So she has been a very hands-on mom in the formative years of this kid's life. So, maybe I'm being a little too harsh there. Now she wants her career back and stuff, and so that's understandable.
How dare she?
After we praised all the moms on programs.
We praised all of those moms. Let's just shit on comic
How dare
moms.
One of the most career-oriented women ever created want a career. So I feel like Lois Lane, and it's all stemming from the Superman universe. Lois Lane, Martha Kent, my two big favorites right there. You might know more, though, because you've read more independent comics.
Well, see...
There's gotta be some moms in there.
One of my favorites out of everything that I've read is... And unfortunately, her first name, I cannot remember for the life of me. Mark Grayson, Invincible, his mom.
Okay.
She puts up with so much. Like, her husband and her son are both superheroes. And
I have read some of this book, the early issues, maybe the first 6 or something like that. But, I loved her right away. Table. Yes, I loved her right away because there's this casual conversation about how the dad went to this different dimension and he fought this thing. She's like, "That's nice, dear. What did you do today?" And then he's talking about how his powers just came in and everything. Invincible's talking about how his powers just came in and everything and stuff. And she's just carrying on this conversation like someone went shopping and the other one had a math test.
And then she finishes that conversation with will you pass the potatoes? Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, so she has to deal with her teenage son getting his powers, becoming his own superhero, growing up, going to college, the things that happen in the book. I'm not... You know what? Fuck you. I'm giving you plenty of opportunities. The shit that happens with Omni-Man and him, betraying Earth and, her husband abandons her, everything
Holy
was
shit.
Her marriage was a lie to her and everything. Come to find out it wasn't a lie. And, deals with the loss that she has to deal with, the grandkids, over 144 issues, these characters actually age.
15 years.
They grow, they change, And, like, you can see, like, she's affected by all of this.
Yeah.
Like, she's a pretty critical part of this book. Like, he talks to his mom on a regular basis.
Because I'm sitting here, I'm trying to think of, like, these developmental moms in comic books, and I'm coming up short. I thought maybe the Flash is, and I was like, yes, he has a good relationship with her, but how much do we know up to the point where she dies?
Yeah.
A lot of them you never really hear much about their mother. You always hear about their fathers.
Yeah.
And now, not to get all feminist on this, like, maybe that should fucking change. Like, maybe there's some character development to be fleshed out here. Like, Miles Morales' mom, though, she does come to mind. Having read some of that story arc, she's a very caring, worried woman. There's that...
His grandma is terrifying.
Sure. Don't need that in my life. But no, she. There's that time when she gets the investigator because, like, she knows that he's hiding something from her and stuff. So that's a very good comic book mom as well. Anyone else you can think of? Yeah, honestly,
as far as comics,
it really is a little bit barren.
A lot of comic book characters and heroes don't have moms.
I mean, there's Spider-Woman. She's a mother now.
Yeah.
I suppose. Certain iterations of Wonder Woman is a mother if you look at the Dark Knight universe.
Yeah. You could, I guess, consider Aunt May, his mother figure.
Yeah, and that's a really good one, too. If you consider mother figures, Aunt May is a fantastic one. And not just as a nurturing character, but eventually she goes on to create her own charitable foundation and stuff like that. So she's also an entrepreneurial woman and stuff. So she's just a very, very great character in that respect as well. But other than those, I'm thinking moms are underrepresented in comic books.
The more you think about it, they are. I mean,
maybe not independent, but we haven't read everything.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, okay, we know Storm. She becomes a mom at some point.
But what do you really know about her being a mother?
Yeah. Talia al Ghul. Yeah.
Oh, she's awful. That's a bad example.
Terrible. I'm just like labeling moms in comics that come to mind. I'm not saying they're good or bad or anything, but it's just like. You try to sit and think, and it's hard.
It is. It's a little barren. That is probably the more difficult one to answer here. So let's go ahead and let's move on to movies. Movies are a big one. There's a lot of moms in there.
There are a lot of
moms in there. Shit.
When I sit and think, like, movie moms, one of the first things that I think of is, like The Parent Trap. Or not The Parent Trap. No, that's the wrong one.
You thinking Freaky Friday?
Freaky Friday.
Okay.
And there's been
different Lindsay Lohan movie.
Well, but there's been other iterations of it through the years. It's been remade, like, 3 or 4 times.
Twice.
Whatever.
I know way too much about Freaky Friday.
You do.
I actually really love the one you're talking about, right? You're talking about the remake, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that's like, it kind of makes you realize you don't realize what they have to go through on a day-to-day basis. And it kind of makes you appreciate...
Right.
Your mom or the parent appreciate
and how great
what the teenage goes through.
Is Jamie Lee Curtis in that movie. Right. Lindsay Lohan is good in it too. Not to take anything away from Lindsay Lohan. She turned into a train wreck, but she had some talent. Yeah, she had talent. And I know she's done some movies in recent years and stuff. I haven't seen any of them. I'm hoping that talent carried over, but, still, Lindsay Lohan was great in this too. But yeah, more to what you were saying, talking about the mothers. She's great in that. And we do get like a reveal behind the curtain and stuff and how difficult that world can be. Another great example, another fun example is Mrs. Invincible.
Yes.
Yeah, and I feel like we're going to get a little more of the working mom aspect in Invincibles 2.
Not Invincibles.
Incredibles.
Yeah. Incredibles.
I said Mrs. Invincible, didn't I?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Shit. Anyways, Mrs. Incredible. But in that first movie, we do get to see her home life and how she's dealing with being a mom. Does she have a job in the beginning of that? I don't remember. I know Mr. Incredible does.
In the first one, no. I'm pretty sure she's stay-at-home mom.
Yeah, and we get to see a little bit of that, and obviously she's a tough woman.
Yeah.
Elastigirl, come on.
I'm really struggling coming up with meaningful movie moms.
I'm drawn I just flashed Alien through my brain. I'm like, nope, no mom's there. I mean, I guess you could count Nude as maybe a pseudo daughter type thing, but no. Back to the Future.
No, we're not gonna go there, man. We're not gonna go there.
Nope, we're gonna go to get right over Back to the Future. There's a whole lot of mom in that one, but not what we want to talk about.
I'm sitting here trying to think, okay, what movie franchise?
Well, we got Aunt May again, I guess.
We've had so many Aunt Mays.
Several. Well, we've only had 3. It's only 3.
And she's progressively younger each time.
Yeah, and I can say that I've liked every single iteration of her. Yeah. Honestly, I can't argue with any one of those castings.
I can't. The first one, though, is always going to be my favorite.
Really?
And honestly, that's just the way that she was portrayed. The actress, I feel like she did a great job portraying that older Aunt May.
Well, you also have to think of, there are 3 different Aunt Mays. There's one who's an elderly woman. There's one who is in her midlife. She's reaching that age. Mm-hmm. And then there's one who,
in her 30s.
In her 30s, maybe early 40s. But yeah, so there's 3 very different generations, very different iterations. And with... yeah, like you were saying, the first one from the 2000s Spider-Man run. She played that kindly old lady who... but she also played emotion very well. She wouldn't accept the rent money and stuff.
That and, in the second one, she was tough as all get out as well. When Doc Ock got her. She
had some gumption.
Yeah.
To use one of her generation's phrases. But then you had the Amazing Spider-Man run, and she was a little bit of both. She was kind of, what are you boys up to? Type, boys will be boys. But then when Peter gets a little bit of a sour mouth, she's right in his face. Look, what are you son of a bitch. What do you think you're doing here? Exact quote from the movie. No. Not at all.
You son of a bitch.
And then, you son of a bitch.
Where do you get off?
Napoli. Goes real Italian real quick. And then with the third one from Spider-Man Homecoming, she's peppier, she's younger, and she has more energy and stuff. And
she doesn't need a cane to get around.
No, but you can also tell that she's a little aged, and she's just trying to keep up with her younger ward here, more or less. So... very different Aunt Mays in those. All portrayed well for the very unique situations and unique generations and stuff. So that's a great one. Mm-hmm. Now all I can think of is Spider-Man.
It's like I'm sitting here thinking, it's okay, what movies have I seen? Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Okay. Is the mom in that at all?
She is. And one of the things that, and it's one of the few scenes that she's in, she's a big part of, is when the principal calls her at work. She's like, do you know that he has been absent 9 times? And, like, they're having a conversation about it. She's like, I think I would know if my kid was sick 9 times. And it's like, she's very stern with the principal, holding her ground. And then he puts that seed of doubt, so she goes home to check to see if he's still there, falls for the elaborate trap of the mannequin in the bed.
Right.
But still,
classic.
Like, you know, she still, like, holds her ground, supports her kid, but still double checks just to make sure.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm trying to sit here and think, it's like, how many moms can I remember?
Oh, man, I just had this one. Oh, Kirstie Alley from Look Who's Talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I actually just watched Look Who's Talking 1 and 2 recently.
God, it's been so long since I've seen
they're so good. You need to revisit them. They're on Hulu. Check them out.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah, Kirstie Alley in those movies, she puts up with a lot. She's in the first movie, she's in that very unique situation because if you remember, John Travolta is not the father of Mikey. He just he's actually the cab driver. See, because she gets knocked up by her boss, and he kind of turns out to be a piece of shit. But this movie portrays all the different situations that a mother has to go through, from conception to childbirth to a unique situation where there's a man who you're starting to have feelings for, but he's not the father of your child, and now all of a sudden the actual father wants to be a part of that kid's life. Yeah. And it's a very interesting series to go through, and it's almost unfortunate that this is a comedy, only because there are so many other levels I feel like Kirstie Alley could have hit.
Yeah.
But given the environment of the film, it had to play a certain way. And she did a great job, and everything came out great and fun. But it's like, wow, what's on the other side of that? Like, what's happening with the emotion here and stuff? Well, and then the second movie is her and John Travolta are having marital difficulties and stuff, and how that affects the kids, and how that affects the mom being away from the man she loves, but at the same time, blah, blah, blah. So there's a whole lot there in just 2 movies, just from one mom.
Right. Another one that I just kind of thought of was the mom from the Santa Claus.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember her very much either. Why are you remembering moms that are mostly in the background?
Well,
is there something you want to talk about?
No, because I'm just trying to think of movies that I know I've seen multiple times.
Is this where we're going to air our parental shit? I had like an N-word that's really fancy in my head and I forgot it. Negligence, yeah.
No.
Is this where we're going to air our parental negligence?
No, not in the slightest. It's just from the fact that, she's dealing with, we see dealing with the current relationship and the ex-husband.
Was she that prevalent in the film? I don't remember her at all.
Yeah, because, she kept telling us, this is going too far. This isn't good for him. You going around parading as Santa Claus.
Right.
They went to court over, him not being able to see the kid for a while. Dropping the charges. She actually had quite a lot to do with, what happened with the kid.
Right.
Not so much with him being Santa Claus.
Don't know why I'm not, because I can remember everything with the kid. I can remember everything with, God.
Because, the
what is
soccer
the actor's
game.
name?
Tim Allen?
No.
Or the actor?
The Santa Claus! Oh my god! I've been thinking of Bad Santa this whole time. Since you said the Santa Claus. We did a Commoner's Commentary on this, and for some reason I'm sitting here going, wait a minute.
So, now do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I felt like she was a shit. I didn't like her very much.
Well,
she seems to make just ridiculous. She seems to be easily manipulated.
I was gonna say, she was affected a lot by Neil.
Yeah, she does, not that she's a terrible mom or anything like that. It just seems like she's too easily swayed one way or the other.
Yeah.
And I think we were joking about that in our commentary on it at the end. It was like, oh, yeah, he's Santa. Like that.
He's Santa.
Works for me.
Burn the custody papers. Yeah. He got me the mystery date game.
Right.
You know, we're all good.
Oh, speaking of Santa Claus and mothers and stuff, what about Mrs. Claus in the Rankin Bass Year Without a Santa Claus? You remember her at all? Yeah, because Santa Claus decides he's done. He's going to take a year off. I don't want to do it. And then so she embarks on this whole journey. And you could argue maybe she's not a mom, but she's called Mrs. Claus, whatever. She's got all the elves and stuff. Like, she's very momly. You know, but yeah, she takes it upon herself to go out and find out, like, why is there no Christmas cheer? Why don't people believe in Santa Claus and stuff? And she's the reason everyone starts believing in Santa Claus again and all that shit. Yeah, you're not remembering this at all, are you? You're drawing a total blank. God, what? Are you sure there's nothing you want to talk about from your childhood?
It has been so long since I've watched any of those.
Oh my God, a yearly institution in my life. My house with my kids. Like, how are you not showing your kids the Rankin Bass specials? I'm going to call child services.
Because I can't get them to sit down without watching My Little Pony for 10 minutes for anything else.
That's when you start screaming and smacking things. No. Nope. That is not a belief held up by this podcast. I was just making a joke before the comments start. Shit, there they are. We're not live. I don't know who I'm talking about.
I think CPS is now officially on the way.
Yeah. All right. Well, welcome to the last episode of Sorta My Podcast. Because where would it be without me? Probably better off.
It would just be random recordings
just like Bob on the job site for like 12 seconds. Like, there's the new episode.
So I read a comic this week. Just uploads that.
Okay, so anything else? Any other? And we know we're missing a lot, and that's why the comments section exists. Go ahead and comment down below any of your favorite TV moms, your favorite comic book moms, which I'm sure we missed a lot of, movie moms, which I know we missed a lot of, and throw that down in those comments below. We'll probably respond and everything, and we'll all have a good time. We'll all have a great time, and we'll beat our kids for not watching Christmas specials.
Vinny will beat his kids for not watching Christmas specials.
How do you think I got him to watch them in the first place? No, God, no. I'm making more editing for myself, and I don't even know that I'm going to edit that out because it's funny. And now that I'm pointing out that it's funny, it's not funny anymore. So on to the next part of this podcast.
All right.
Yeah. Anyways. We're going to go ahead and treat you guys to some people that are very important in our lives. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes!
We're talking Ninja Turtles! No, we actually got some interviews with all of our moms here on the podcast. Miss Sue Howard, Angela Odle, and Cheryl Addington. I wanted to say Collins so bad. I was thinking Bob's last name. I wanted to say Collins. I knew it because I'm friends with her on Facebook.
Although, I gotta say, I'm proud of you for actually getting all three of those names.
All three of them? Well, I've been exposed to one of them for about 30 years now. One of them for about 15 years now, and the other one for about 10 years now. So, yeah, I feel like I've got a little bit of clout going on. Because honestly, if I've only met you like once or twice, like, I'm gonna fucking forget who you are, your name, everything. I meet so many people who apparently know me. And I like to, nowadays, I like to think they know me from the podcast. I just put that in my head and I'm like, yeah, let's keep doing it. But really, I probably met them at a party when I was shit-faced at one point and they remember me. I do not remember them. So from there, let's go into a few interviews we got with our moms. Unfortunately, we couldn't play this out the way that we wanted to, but we did get all 3 interviews. So first up, we're going to go ahead and jump into an interview with Dr. T. Neal and my mom. Is that the grammatical way to say it? Dr. T. Neal and I's mom.
I think the better way to say it is, I did your mom.
Yeah, all right. Well, we're going to have a very long time. But while we do that, here's that interview.
Hello, everyone. James Odle, Alphaspecter here with our special Mother's Day interview with Vincent and Dr. T. Neal's mother, Sue.
Hello.
We're just going to go ahead and jump right into this. So, Sue, a little bit about your kids, Vinny and Travis. What was raising them like?
Very adventurous. Especially come teen years, you should know that. You ran with them. When they were little, they were quite the characters. Always getting into something, always something new popping up, no adventurous. So never boring.
Oh, I don't doubt that. So when did you notice them starting to get into comics and superheroes and nerdy stuff like that?
Well, of course, Vinny being the oldest one, he, I'd say by the time he was 3, he was into a little everything. Because we started him off on things like Nintendo and stuff like that right from the get-go. He'd be in a basket on the floor watching. Next thing you know, he'd be joining in, after he got about 1.5, 2 years old. And by the time he was 3, he was into just about a little everything that he could get his hands on for videos. And then he'd start off with like Ninja Turtles. God, superheroes. He just loved them all. Yeah. Batman, Superman, and, things like that, later on in life, Spider-Man when he became bigger, and just all kinds of stuff like that. And Travis, when he came along, he just kind of like automatically, was throwing all these toys to play with. So I'd say with him, it started off even earlier, as far as the superheroes and stuff go.
So what kind of character groups did they kind of latch on to?
As in,
like were they more prone to like the Ninja Turtles or like the Batman, Superman, stuff like that? Which did you notice them spending like more time with?
At first, Ninja Turtles. They really were big time on those. Of course, that's back when they were little. That's when it all first started coming out, big time in the stores. So they had to have Ninja Turtle everything. And then I'd say after that, it was more like Batman, starting to get into Batman a lot.
So what are your honest thoughts for their love of comics and heroes and all this nerdy stuff in their adult lives?
Well, I've had different people ask me that question over the years, even family. They're like, oh, Lord, your kids are geeks. I'm like, I know it. Ain't it cool? But I guess that kind of spears from the fact that I was never really geeky. Mm-hmm. So as I was growing up, I was more the hippier kind of person, right, and ran with bikers and stuff. But they, somehow, the life I had built around them, they automatically were into it all. So I had to face the fact as they got older that was going to be what they wanted to do, Mm-hmm. And I have no problem with it. I think that it's great, like Ben when he started his comic shop and everything. Mm-hmm. I was 100% behind it. Travis, he was always into art and music and stuff like that, and a lot of people consider that to be geeky. Mm-hmm. So, I was 100% supporter, go for it. This is what you're great at. You're astounding. I mean, Travis's first art was liked by the time he was in Head Start and drew a little tiny blocks together and made a dinosaur, and they started hanging it around in the museums and stuff up in Medina County.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, it was kind of a given that they were, going to be doing this stuff all along, and I love it. I think they're cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, switching the focus a little bit to you, in your younger years or your adult life or anything like that, have you ever had any interest in geek culture?
I'd say as far as, maybe the art area, but I never really got into a lot of the different things that these guys do. For one, we didn't have computers around for years. So, it was more radio, music, stuff like that, For instance, I grew up with 8 brothers, and, I always wanted to be a mechanic. And fly airplanes. That was what I wanted to grow up and do. So, unfortunately, life took me in a different direction, and I don't regret it, but at the same time, I'd love to have had that career.
Right.
So maybe that could have been my geeky side there.
Well, yeah, I mean, and there's a big following out there, I know, for, like, aircrafts, like, people collect the model planes. Some people build kind of a nerd culture out of, like, the models and knowing every little fact about all that. So, I mean, that could definitely be considered kind of a nerd following or geeky following that you would have had.
Right.
So, were there ever any superheroes at all that ever stood out to you or kind of appealed to you at any point?
Well, of course, I'm like everybody else, on the female end, you like the female ones, and I loved Wonder Woman. That was a biggie. She had her own show, everything, and still to this day, I love Wonder Woman and Harley Quinn.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with
one
that.
One from each side of the tracks.
Absolutely. So, one last question here. Outside of comics and superhero stuff like that, we kind of touched on a little bit. What else would you consider yourself kind of a big nerd for?
Crafts, I guess, as an adult now. I get into making a lot of things, but I raised the kids doing that too. So nowadays, that's why I have a table set up in there. I'm sorting out some things out of my way so I can start bringing out my art. And I'll be making a little everything to sell. So
what kinds of stuff are you going to be making? Like, what kind of crafts do you do?
Well, I do a lot of rock art. I do bohemian dream catchers.
Okay.
I do everything. I do painting on, for instance, how they have the handled type cutting boards. Mm-hmm. I do art on those.
Oh, okay.
And so a lot of people like those. I even do tic-tac-toes on them.
Yeah.
Kids are crazy about it. So depends on what picture you put on there. So.
Well, definitely thank you for taking some time to chat with me about some of your nerdy history and the boys' nerdy histories and all that.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think you have some real honest discussions to have with your wife. If you're going to be my new stepdad, there are a lot of things that need to change.
Well, if I'm going to be your new stepdad, then you're going to be changing a few things too.
I refuse to call Abby my sister. I refuse.
Well, you're just going to have to start now.
Well, all right. We don't fucking have time for this. We're going to... All right. Sorry you guys had to hear that, but we're going to go ahead and get into the next interview here. You'll be lucky to make it to the next episode. Here's the interview. Be lucky
if you're not grounded.
Here's
for the next
the
episode.
interview with this son of a bitch's mom. All right, guys. I am sitting here today with the illustrious Mama Spectre, Angela Odle. Angie, thank you so much for joining me for this interview.
Pleasure to be here.
Okay, so we've got a few pre-selected questions here I'm going to go through with you. First of all, what was it like raising a young Odle?
Oh, my goodness. Jimmy was always a treat. How can I describe raising James? You was always on the edge of your seat with that child, let me tell you.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. The things that he would come up with, the things that he would do. He was just a very imaginative child.
What would you say is probably the most out there thing that he came up with in his youth?
Oh, my goodness. The most out there thing that he came up with. Well, when he was young, he discovered that he liked to perform in front of audiences. So he was quite the ham, and he was actually good at it. I think that's part of his gift to being able to talk to people that he doesn't know.
Yeah, he always has been a very forward person when it comes to being social and everything. He's the one who got us involved with Tricon. I hadn't even thought of it.
Go.
Yeah, and it was just he just wanted to go talk to him and do an interview with him, and it just cascaded from there.
Right.
Now, when did you notice him starting to get into comics and superheroes, nerdy things in general?
Well, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came out in 1987, and so did Jimmy. So
that's a good way to benchmark that one.
Yeah, pretty much. But he was into the Ninja Turtles right off the bat, and the Power Rangers. I think those were his two major shows that he would watch on TV, and all the little figures. And
oh yeah, he's still got quite a few of those Ninja Turtles too. I've seen. We've dug through his collection.
Still finding Power Ranger figures upstairs. So
yeah. Now, what are your honest thoughts on his love for comics, cartoons, and stuff like that now in his adult life?
His love for comics, I mean, everyone has to have a passion, and I honestly believe that it's not something that's hurting anyone or anything, as long as you take care of your family, take care of your household, and then anything you do on the side is, it's gravy.
Yeah, and he doesn't seem to be having any trouble doing that, and he's buys plenty of the books to prove it.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, his collection of omnibuses, which are basically the big collected editions, hardcovers and stuff that he barely reads. He's so many of those he hasn't even touched. And I would know. I helped him organize that room. So. Yeah.
I still have to finish making his curtains for that room.
Oh, okay. So you're the one who made the curtains then.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you bought them. I thought maybe Tiffany had made them or something. That's really cool.
Mama O did.
Yeah. Speaking of Mama O, switching focus to you, have you ever had any interest in any of the geek culture stuff?
No, not really. My biggest interest growing up was vehicles. I could pretty much tell you any kind of car rolling down the street, what it was, almost what year it was.
And you have a lot of experience working on cars too, don't you?
I do. Yeah. Did you notice what happened to Jimmy's car when he went to Rock on the Range one year?
Yes. I remember that.
It got turned into the Iron Man car.
Yeah. I keep telling him, I'm like, I know it doesn't need replaced, but you should probably just replace the panels on the doors too. Just finish it up. But yeah, no, we've had a good laugh over that a time or two.
Oh yeah,
thing's falling.
I thought it would be. Well, yeah, it's fallen apart, but it's been a very good one for him, and I had fun putting it together for him. So I know he enjoys his comics, and sometimes I'm an enabler for him.
Yeah. Well, I think the sheer amount of Ninja Turtles and Power Ranger figures can attest to that.
Oh, absolutely.
Were there any superheroes, though, that stood out to you at all, or any you ever took notice of?
In my day, I was always outside. I never stayed in the house. I didn't play with Barbies.
Tomboy?
I was always on the go. Yeah, pretty much tomboy. I liked playing sports and, doing what everyone else thought they could do, but I always tried to do it.
Always running with the pack.
Pretty much. Or the pack running with me.
Right. I think you and my mom would get along. I still haven't heard her interview yet, but I have to imagine it went pretty similarly. She was always out romping and raising hell and stuff.
Yeah, we would probably be a pair, I'm telling you.
All right, Angie. Well, that is going to conclude all my questions. Anything else you wanted to add for this special Mother's Day episode?
I just want to say that I think what you boys are doing is great. Keep it up. You got a pretty good audience.
Well, we figured we were getting together roughly every 2 weeks and just talking about comics anyways, so why not make a show out of it?
Why not?
I'm sorry, man. It's just, everything the way it's been with my actual dad, and I have a stepdad, and
It's okay, sport. We'll get through this
You've been
together.
like a brother to me. How you go from brother to dad? It's just
it'll be an easy transition. We're still going to be best buds.
I know. I just want you to know that I love you through all this, through whatever's going to happen.
We'll get through it together, buddy.
And, we love everyone else. We love you guys who are listening too. I'm sorry you've had to hear all this drama this episode. It's insane. But another person we love, Boba Fett, Mr. Bobbert Collins himself. And we also love his mom, Cheryl. And here's the great interview I got with her.
My only one suggestion to y'all is no more drunken in the car podcast. That was insane. I enjoyed it, but only because I know y'all.
Yeah.
But somebody who doesn't would have gone, Jesus, what's with these guys? Yeah, but that was fun.
I don't think our sober ones are that much better either, because we just did the, I actually just finished doing the Avengers Infinity War review, and,
I'm going Monday, so no spoilers.
Oh, there's so many spoilers in there.
Oh, well, I won't listen. I haven't heard it
Well, we always try and do a spoiler-free. There's about a 20-minute spoiler-free version, and then the rest of it is all spoilers. But, yeah, I got that done, and that was just me and Travis, and that one is still even, all over the place.
I am so geeked and so excited, but yet I dread going, because I know there's people that we lose in that. I mean, they have to.
Yeah.
But I know the canon, and I also know that some of those people's contracts are up. So I'm going, oh, do I really want to go? We're
it's
going
so
tomorrow
good.
night.
Little preview from our review. We're basically calling this the greatest superhero sequel of all time.
Yeah.
Because as a movie on its own, it does not, stand on its own. You have to watch the other stuff.
Yeah, or at least I saw the one thing I did read, and they said this is not a spoiler, but you should read it before you go if you don't know the canon. And it did a whole history of, who's in the movie and what their backstory is and what all those little Easter eggs that we've seen for years lead to, and then it sets you off. And it was an excellent, I think I saw it on Instagram maybe or something, but it was awesome. I thought, because I had forgotten some of that stuff, but anyways, here we go.
Let's go ahead.
I told you I ramble. So.
That's all right. We do it on the show anyways.
Well, I'm Bob's mom. Come on,
we're just keeping in routine here. So my first question for you is, what was it like raising a young Bobbert Collins?
Who was Robbie when he was little. He'll hate me for that. Yeah, honest, Vin, it was like an e-ticket ride at Disney World, or Disneyland. It was, he was being the only boy. He was anticipated, and it was exciting raising him. He was a crazy, fun, sweet young boy, but it was exciting and thrilling and sometimes scary. But when when you get off the ride, it's one of those you want to get right back on again.
Right.
So that's kind of the way, that's the only thing I could think of that I could compare it to.
Yeah. I'd say because some of the stories he's told on Serious Shit alone, I would have bet, just putting myself in a parent perspective, oh man, that sounds like a ride.
Yeah. Well, he comes by that honest, Yeah. Most of the people in our family are that way. And they're risk takers, but he was the daredevil of the bunch.
When did you notice him starting to get into comics, superheroes, nerdy things like that?
Fairly early. Like I said, he came by it honest. And my sister was the first, helped develop the first American pop culture department at Bowling Green State University.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. She has, her story alone is amazing. So he kind of was born into a family that was extremely nerdy, in so many ways. But I think when we took him to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, he was about 3, and we took him to the theater, and oh my God, you could see his eyes just light up.
Right.
And he had a speech impediment at 3, so it was the Teeny Mutant Ninja Kittles. And that continued for a few years. And then he really started getting into Batman and all the other superheroes, probably around 7 or 8, I suppose. Yeah, but Ninja Turtles those were his first love, his first fandom.
I think that goes across the board for all of us on this podcast. Maybe not Travis so much, as he was past that generation.
Yeah.
But, I know Odle was huge on him. I know I loved him, so...
well, this was also a little boy who was read things like Greek and Roman mythology and all kinds of stuff like that when he was little. Yeah, oh yeah. Black Elk Speaks. I mean, I don't know if he ever talks about that, but he that was his passion. By the time he was in like 3rd grade, he knew everything about mythology you could imagine.
Wow.
And
I need to step my game up. I've just been having goosebumps.
Well, my background is in cultural anthropology, and of course, then I had a sister who was in pop culture until she decided to go into medicine. But so he read some really bizarre stuff when he was little. But I think it fed into that fascination with superheroes and magic and
modern mythology.
And otherworld. And I was a great follower and student of Campbell's work, and so I was always, spoon feeding him Joseph Campbell's philosophy about superheroes and modern myth and stuff like that. So
wow, that's really cool. No, I did not know that about him.
Yeah.
Okay, you actually kind of blazed through about 2 of my questions right there.
Yeah, well.
When would you say that you first started getting involved in the geek culture? Like, taking it back before Bobb?
When I was a kid, my dad traveled for a living. He designed mostly kitchens, but restaurants. He was a designer. And so I was homeschooled back in the day when they didn't call it homeschooling. They called it correspondence school. And I had to mail all of my work into the main school in Chicago. And it was at a time when, in the late 60s, early 70s, when the Jackson 5 and all of all celebrities were schooled through the same schooling system. And so I had a lot of free time because my parents did travel. And, as a young kid, I lived in hotels in Las Vegas and got to hang out with celebrities and strippers. So, it was very diverse. But I had a lot of time, and my mother was avid about reading, and I read everything. But then I got my hands on, comics. And it wasn't really until I went to college when I was about 16 that I got into underground comics, which I don't know if you're familiar with. Yeah, like Trots and Bonnie and Cheech Wizard and all of those. And that was my passion for years. But with my sister, there's only 2 of us. There were 2 of us, siblings. Her influence was extreme because she was a Disney freak. I mean, total Disney freak. Although she did a lot of really cool things in her life. Like she was one of the writers in I think it was the 2nd or 3rd season of Saturday Night Live. She went and did her summer internship in New York with them.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
She was around Belushi and Gilda Radner and Chevy Chase and all of the originals.
Yeah.
And so her influence on me, I mean, she opened up a whole new world to me. Doctor Who when I was a kid, and I'm still a hardcore Whovian, which you may already know. But yeah, it was, I mean, my whole life. So it's not surprising that Bobb has a passion. All of my kids do, but he has probably taken it the farthest.
Yeah, Well, I'll say it till the end of time. This whole podcast was pretty much born out of Bobb. We grew it on the back of the thing that I had been doing for so long, but I honestly didn't even start listening to podcasts until a month before we got started, because we started talking about doing a podcast. So,
well, I think it was great.
Yeah, he really helped us find a new outlet, and it's become one of our main ones. So, well,
that's the coolest thing about being a nerd, is that you really need to share it with somebody. I mean, I think there's a little bit of closet teacher in all of us, and you want to share it. You want to expand other people's knowledge about it. That's why I have a nerd corner in my shop, and actually that's where I'm at right now. I have all this really cool, funky cultural stuff, but then the whole back corner is nerd. I even have a TARDIS, which I kind of wish we're not.
I believe Bob's told me about that.
Yeah, and we've got everything. Huge Harry Potter section. We got a huge Avengers and Batman section. But the thing is that Bob's even still today, as far away as we are from each other, he'll call me and we'll sit and talk nerdy stuff for 2 hours on the phone, because it's just that innate desire and need to share the magic of that with somebody.
Yeah.
And so I think the podcast is like so necessary and so good. And I love just turning it on. I get to not only hear my kid, but I get to hear all of you and your excitement.
Yeah, we really have grown into our own with this whole thing, and I think it's going to keep going for a while. I really hope so. Bobb, with his current scheduling problems, might have to drop in and out again, but
yeah, or we need to get him a really good laptop or something that you can include him via Skype or something else.
Yeah.
Because he will miss it, and that's not something he takes lightly.
No, he never really has. It's just one of those things. What can he do? Yep. We all got to work, and none of us are getting paid for this yet. So.
Yep, and you got to feed your kids. But hey, if the Nerdist can make millions, so can you.
Yeah, they started in the attic of a comic book store, so why can't we start in the back of, well, actually, we started in my kitchen. So.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah. That's cool. As long as it's not in the car, I'm good with it.
Or no, we started up in Odle's nerd room. Yeah, the car.
Yeah, the car. I had to laugh, Vinny. I really did. You guys were hilarious.
Well, we figured, we could do it right then and there, right after the movie, or we could spend all this time driving back to my place or Odle's place or wherever. Just we could get it done, or do all that driving. But yeah, and even that's become a problem for everyone because we don't get out of those movies until 9:30, and then we've got an hour and a half recording after that. So yeah.
Well, and the thing was that from an audience perspective, your afterglow was still so strong.
Yeah. I think that's why we like doing that, is because, we could sit and wait a week and do it that way, or we could just come right out of the box with whatever's freshest in our minds, because later on, that's going to be the thing that stands out, not this little thing we thought of 4 hours later,
Yeah, well, just don't be so drunk the next time, or whatever.
We're trying to cut down on that.
Yeah, me too. Hey, I've been trying for decades. So
yeah, right.
It's coming. But I love that. I love that. And I actually had seen it before you guys did.
Oh,
and
yeah?
I got really tickled because
what was that?
Loved that movie.
That was the Black Panther? Was the last one we all did together?
Yes, and I loved that movie.
By the time this comes out, all of that's going to be inaccurate.
Yeah, probably. But you know what? From a cultural anthropologist's viewpoint, that was the best ever of the superhero movies, because they took such care in making sure that the African presentation was correct. Yeah. And it was. I was just blown away. And I kept poking Jim, saying, look.
Yeah, they did a fantastic job with their Afrofuturism in that movie, and just taking care of the characters in general. They really raised the stakes.
And acknowledging traditional African culture. They were phenomenal. Yeah. And I came out of there extremely geeked. And of course, I have a biracial daughter who is 14, and she's always, tried to stay away from self-identifying as a black person, even though she does. She's not terribly proud of it. Even during the Obama administration, she was proud, but we live in an area that is mostly white, and so she kind of keeps it down low key, and doesn't emphasize it. After she saw that movie, it changed. It changed how she felt about herself. It changed how she presented herself to other people. It was amazing.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it is. So, I'm all in for Black Panther, and I wasn't overly familiar with the canon, but afterwards I thought, we're going to have to get into this a little more.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that you had started with, before you got into the underground comics, you started with regular comics.
Yeah.
What superheroes stood out to you in general? I assume you started with, the big names.
Well, honey, I grew up in the 50s and 60s, as a really young kid. I was born in 57. Everybody read comics. I mean, you could still go down to the drugstore or the Five and Dime and buy comics. Big names of superheroes, Superman, Batman, Captain America, big time.
Oh, yeah.
But I was more into girly stuff like Archie comics and stuff that I related to a little more. It wasn't until I got a little bit older. I didn't have brothers, okay? And my dad was traveled all the time, so I really didn't get influenced. But when I started hanging out with my cousins, I have a cousin who is the same age I am, who is now actually the editor of the Detroit News.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he kind of turned me on to, he was into Superman big time. And of course, I leaned a little more towards Batman and Wonder Woman. And I would say I was about 8 or 9, maybe. So all the big names, all the original classics. Aquaman, even then, when I don't know when Aquaman actually was introduced, but he always fascinated me.
I've always found Aquaman's origins, outside of the comics, just how he got started and came to popularity, very interesting because comparatively to Wonder Woman and Batman and Superman, it just doesn't seem to be that same magic behind the character, those same laurels that would really pull you in. And even after that, he became a big joke up until maybe this past 10 years when they actually started putting some effort into writing him.
Yeah, and they got a good on-screen presentation. Yeah. I mean, you couldn't ask for a hunkier Aquaman.
that is not Aquaman, though. I should point out, whatever's going on in the comics before or after, that has never been Aquaman.
Oh, heavens no. He was a skinny little,
Yeah, that is Momoa Aquaman.
Yeah, well, for us,
but it was good. It was fun.
For us female fans, that's quite all right. We'll take it.
Now, outside of comics and superheroes and stuff like that, what else were you really into? What did you geek out for?
Oh, everything. I'm a 60s, 70s kid, so, and like I said, pop culture was really prominent.
Yeah, the music scene alone.
Oh my God, yes, and still is. When I was in high school, I gotta say I was probably because I was correspondence schooled or homeschooled, I could have graduated from high school when I was 15, but my dad, being the Nazi that he was, insisted that I go and learn to socialize with kids my own age, so they put me back in a regular high school in Florida for my senior year. And of course, I was suspended and expelled all the time. They had to attach me to the girls' dean, make me work for her so I'd stay out of trouble. But I wasn't used to it. I wasn't used to the boundaries. And having that freedom when I was a kid or young teenager of not having a schedule and being exposed to things all over the country and sometimes all over the world, I would take my mom. My mom would go with me to see people like Elton. We saw Elton John together. We saw David Bowie together. She went with me to see Yes and, some of the big names. And she was really cool about it because I wasn't old enough to go by myself, and I couldn't drive, of course. So she would go with me, and a couple of them she would drop me off and then come back and get me after the concert. But seeing my mother sit there and really get into David Bowie and everybody smoking pot around us and, and I'm thinking, oh God, here I am, a kid with my mother. But nah, it was cool. It was very cool. Yeah. So, whatever was out there, I was interested in. I was a late in the game hippie, as far as time-wise, because I was born in 57. So by the time I was of legal age to be out and about, that era was almost over. But I went to Bowling Green, my first stint in college, and of course American pop culture was something I wanted to take, and the only professor available was my sister. Oh my gosh, that was not good. She was so mean to me. Yeah, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot not being in regular school. So, I was ahead of the game. But I was open to anything. Still am. I mean, I'm 61 years old, and, I think that, whatever it is, bring it on.
Cool.
Yeah.
These days it's a little harder as I'm
yeah.
starting to find out, because there's so much and so many ways to get it all at once, and so it gets a little overwhelming. I've gotten to a point where a lot of times when I'm writing for the show or I'm working on anything on my computer, I've got a show or a movie or something going on just so I can keep up. Because if I tried to do these things separately, either work would never get done or I would never watch another TV show again.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, the best invention ever was shit. I just had a brain fart.
Streaming services and
Netflix
streaming and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, Netflix and being able to record, on your TV, because if I had my way, I would just veg out, bring me coffee, bring me beer and cigarettes, and I'm good. I'll sit here and watch anything ever. So, all the stuff that is current, I think we watch because we have it on demand or we have it on Netflix, whatever.
And plus, we live in this time where superhero shows are so alive. And there's so many options out there, so many things you never thought you'd see. And so I'm trying to take as much in as I can.
Yes, and they have gone from pandering to young people to adult storylines. And, and I think for those of us who are baby boomers, especially, that grew up with comics and are familiar with those characters from their origins, having these more well-written, more in-depth adult storylines are a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, Cheryl, I've really enjoyed this chat.
Well, thanks, Ben. I miss seeing you.
Well, you're all the way out there in Michigan now, and I had forgotten that when we were trying to put this all together.
Yeah, we're way up there in Michigan. We're up by Traverse City.
Oh, wow.
But spring is finally hit. We still have a few snow piles on the ground, but the flowers are blooming, and this is heaven in the summer. I mean, really heaven. So you or any of your listeners are welcome to come up and visit. Just give me a heads up. We have 20 acres.
You said you had a shop up there. You want to plug that real quick?
Yeah, it's called Nijmakwa Traders. It's in Bear Lake. Nijmakwa means two bears, so it's Two Bears Traders. It is the coolest shop in northern Michigan, and I've had other people call it that. It's just a cultural treasure trove, and from things from all over the world. We try to stick with things that are handmade, and we support artist co-ops from everywhere from Siberia to Bali to, native communities here locally. And I have an amazingly cool nerd corner. We call it, the fandom corner, technically. But me, it's with great love, the nerd corner. So if you're ever up this way, like I said, I got 20 acres out in the woods. You can pitch a tent and come hang out. We're 5 miles from Lake Michigan. Beautiful beaches.
Holy shit, that sounds awesome. That sounds great.
Yeah, and the great Sleeping Bear Dunes are just up the road a piece, and Traverse City, which is a resort town. It's awesome. That's where they have the big film festival that Michael Moore puts on every year.
Oh, yeah. It's been a while since I heard of that one. I'm glad it's still going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's growing. And we have the International Cherry Festival and lots of good, fun stuff to do. So awesome. Michigan's a place to be in the summertime.
There you go, Sortamites. Hit it up.
Yep, but not during football season. Although way up here in northern Michigan, they're not Michigan fans. They are Michigan State fans. So.
I like to think that we have people listening outside of Ohio, but that's
you might.
That's me being optimistic.
Hey, I'm a hardcore Buckeye, and during football season, I wear my Buckeye necklace, and nobody hassles me. Yeah. So we're cool.
All right, well, Cheryl, thank you very much for doing this with us. Since this is coming out on the day, happy Mother's Day.
Well, bless your heart, thank you. And happy Mother's Day to everybody else out there.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day. Man, she's got the gift of gab. That's for sure. Guys, thank you very much for joining us for this very special Mother's Day episode of Sorta My Podcast. We've had some ups and downs, good times, bad times. I really didn't know if we would make it there, Odle. I really didn't. And then things came back around, and I'm just really glad you're in my life. I'm really, really glad that we're going to be seeing a new paradigm shift in this thing called friendship.
It's going to take some getting used to, buddy,
and
you know what? Sport, we can do it.
I wonder what Travis is going to think about all this. We haven't even talked to him yet. But before we do that, guys, like this episode if you liked it. Subscribe if you loved it. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that bell below. If you want to know when the newest episodes go up, new videos, anything like that. Comment your thoughts on today's interviews. And again, your favorite TV moms, comic moms, movie moms. We know we missed a lot. Shut up about it. I haven't even read a comment about it yet, and I'm already furious. And of course, please share this episode on social media. Again, the only way we can make this grow is 1, money, which is our bag, and 2, exposure, which we got a little bit of that covered, but we need your help there too. My name is Vincent Vin The Human.
James Odle, Alphaspecter.
And let's cue that nurturing, motherly outro music. I got the 2 words mixed up.
Nourishing outro music. That was delicious.
I can't find the mouse. It made all those noises.